go by video link to George Freeman.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. It's a great pleasure to follow the Honourable Member for Chesterfield on behalf of the people of Mid-Norfolk and speak a little more optimistically and positively about this country and its future and reject the narrative of doom and gloom from the opposition benches. In particular, it's a pleasure to follow my right honourable friend, the Chancellor, at the end of a year in which he has inherited a crisis like no other and, in the eyes of my constituents, passed the test with flying colours in announcing with speed last year a commitment to do whatever it takes and to take unprecedented measures to make sure that this country comes through this pandemic. And it is in no small part due to the Treasury's commitment, the 9 million people who the Treasury have helped in self-employment, in employment, the 2.7 million in self-employment who've been helped, the tens of billions for small and medium-sized companies, £407 billion of relief moved at pace to support our economy, that we're now in a position, because of the genius of our life science sector and the huge success of the government's vaccination programme, to lead the recovery post-pandemic. And it would be nice to hear members opposite at least pay some tribute to some of that extraordinary leadership this year. The polls last week show where the public have their trust, and I think the opposition would do well to at least acknowledge that the government is dealing very well with a historic crisis. I particularly welcome in this Queen's speech the announcements on science, a £22 billion commitment and the creation of our new science research agency, ARIA. In particular, the skills guarantee, so that everyone around this country has a chance to take part in the new economy that we're creating, and the commitments to go further and faster on infrastructure. I mentioned the figure that the COVID crisis has cost us. £407 billion has been the total government support. The total cost will be much higher. And I wanted to address the real issue that we must all face, which is who pays for this debt. It is simply not fair for us to bequeath the debts of this crisis to the next generation. And that means it's incumbent on us to find the mechanisms for growth, to drive up prosperity, growth and opportunity. And I wanted to mention in that context the importance of taking the opportunity as we leave the European Union and take sovereignty over our regulatory as well as our trade powers, to grip that opportunity and to unleash the full genius of British innovation, science, innovation, engineering, to create new sectors and new jobs. And I was delighted earlier this year, the Prime Minister asked me with my right honourable friend, the member for Chingford and the member for Barnet, to lead a task force on innovation, growth and regulatory reform. And we've reported this week. And our recommendations go to the heart of the measures in this Queen's speech. A new framework for regulation in the UK to be able to lead the world in the regulating of new sectors and use regulation to lead in innovation across life sciences, clinical trials, digital health, agri-tech, nutraceuticals, the decarbonisation of transport, mobility as a service, satellites, scale up finance in the city. If we make these reforms, we can create here in the UK a genuine innovation nation. A small country, yes, but one that punches above its weight in developing the clean tech, agri-tech, med-tech solutions that the world desperately needs as it faces an agricultural and industrial revolution in the next 30 years that we led here over 200. And this isn't just good for Britain. This is good for local communities as well, because new sectors of growth create clusters all around the country, from hydrogen in Aberdeen to plant breeding in Aberystwyth to immunotherapies in Queen's College, Belfast. This Queen's speech is a speech for opportunity, for regeneration, recovery, as one nation, strengthening the union and creating opportunities for people whoever and wherever they are. And I strongly, on behalf of the people of Mid-Norfolk, commend it to the House.